Hello, Ben.
Hello, Ben. Hello, Alberto. Thank you for joining me once again. And without further ado, let's watch at the lap around the Anderstorp circuit, where we find ourselves today, driven by none other than Mario Andretti in his Lotus 79. So please, Ben. And we are back live. So, Alberto, we can call our friend Jonathan to give us a short interview before this race. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. We'll be calling him.
User left your channel.
So,
User
like I
joined your
said,
channel.
this is the Swedish
User
Grand
joined
Prix.
your channel.
And now we are joined by Jonathan Nasserklint. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello there.
So, what are your prospects for this race?
Well, I'm hoping for a clean race for the first time in a few events, and hopefully not too bad of a finish.
Do you feel more comfortable with the McLaren in this type of circuit?
I do believe that the new McLaren that we picked up a few events ago suit this kind of circuit a lot better than the more twisty circuits that I've driven it on previously. So yes.
So there are some concerns about tire wear among some drivers today. Do you think it will be a problem for you?
That depends on how the race turns out. If I can run at my own pace, like I'd like to do, I don't see any problems with the tires at all. If I'm forced to race because I end up in the middle of the pack, it could turn ugly, I think.
Well, let's hope this time you can indeed have your clean race. I should warn you, there is now roughly 2 minutes to go to the end of this warm-up, so maybe you would want to get ready for the race.
Thank you very much, and I will indeed have fun.
Thank you.
Have fun, guys, and
Thank you,
good
Jonathan.
luck.
Good luck there tonight, Jake.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Alberto, and now that we are here, we have to
User disconnected
discuss,
from your channel.
the big issue. We cannot ignore this anymore, the big elephant in the room, which is that curious device that the Brabhams seem to be running in their back in this race.
Yeah, this was one of those historic moments in Formula One. I mean, Colin Chapman had outsmarted everyone with the ground effect cars at the beginning of the season. And the response he got this time by Team Brabham was so big that absolutely everyone was shocked. It was the talk of the paddock. And well, the car in itself was so successful that it had to be dropped. It was said it was voluntarily done by Bernie Ecclestone because he knew he couldn't piss off the other team owners that much. But we have to wonder what would have happened if Formula One had been allowed to really go on this route.
Yes, if anyone remembers it correctly, the Brabham team first insisted that this was a cooling unit, and we might discuss that with Jason later, our friend Jason White here. He insists it's only that indeed, but of course that's not what the other teams understood, and that was not what we could see at the track. Niki Lauda back then followed quite effortlessly Mario Andretti through the whole race until he overtook him, and he overtook him quite easily. To be honest, it was a very, very simple affair for him, and the advantage was clear. And according to the regulations, a moving device cannot be an aerodynamic device. So there was indeed a lot of concerns about the legality of such a thing, and it proved to be quite difficult indeed to convince the other team owners that it was indeed legal, so the car never raced anymore. Like you said, one can only wonder if it was allowed to race. I've seen prototypes with such things in the past depicting what could be a futuristic Formula One. Although, to be fair, the first time the world saw such a device was in the Can-Am Chaparral. Bob Riley came up with the idea. I think it's Bob Riley was his name. I'm not sure now suddenly, but he came up with that idea back then, and I think it was outlawed there too. And now the warm-up is over, so I guess we will be going to this race, Alberto.
Yes, we will for sure be talking much more about the fun car and the historic connection with other cars. But right now, we have a race to watch, to broadcast. It's about to begin very quickly. And because of the past disconnection issues, I think we will be running with a recon lap.
It seems so. So it means that as soon as they line up, and they already line up, we should go straight away down this grid. And today,
You can run down the top 5 or top 10 list.
Yes, we will start immediately. The 25 runners we have today. There was no one-offs for this race this season. So on pole, once again, despite the fan car, Grégoire Boissin with the Shadow DN9. Another great performance from him, but he's followed by all the revolutionary cars there. Gerard Rion is second with the Lotus 79. Raoul Jareb, taking full advantage of the fan car, is third. His teammate Jason White is fourth. Vincent Beretta in the other Shadow is fifth. Mick Chapman sixth. Jan Tit seventh. Philippe Martinelli is in eighth, and Didier Conjot in the other Lotus 79 in ninth for what is the first 9 places totally ran by ground effects cars. Petr Lavak is 10th in the Williams. Jan Kowalski and David Jack 11th and 12th in the Tyrrells. Ray Ridal is 13th with the Cooper Sucker. Jonathan is 14th with his McLaren M26. 15th, Jakob Fredriksson in the ATS. Jean-Marie Placé is 16th with the other McLaren M26. Michal Janak is 17th with the Surtees. Mike Becknell, this time running the Rablak Privateer Lotus, is in 18th. 19th is Martin Lassina in the Ensign. 20th we have Dan Assurer in the Ligier. 21st, David Saber in the other Surtees. 22nd, Francois Reven in the Ferrari. 23rd, and replacing Richard Coxon, who couldn't be here today because he's attending Real Racing, we have, oh yes, Roman Caranda. I lost to track myself for a bit. 24th, Pascal Nicola in the Merzario. And 25th, rounding up the grid, Mark Florkin in the other Ferrari.
And a word about the Anderstorp track now, because this is a very personal circuit. We have been already commenting this in previous talks about it. It's certainly a very personal circuit. You don't see many of them today. It has those very big 180-degree corners, and I must say that this is also a track, in this occasion we're running the 78 season, that really suited those ground effect cars, because when you have small corners, 90-degree corners for example, a good driver, a good combination, if you have a good setup, you can really go quick through one of those corners. It's like a breeze, and really put something there. But in these very long corners, either the car is gripping well, it's holding to give you that extra speed on that long corner, or you simply can't do those times. So ground effect cars will have a big advantage here today.
Indeed, let's see who has the greatest advantage in the end. So the first drivers are already getting to the grid now, and let's hope that this time we won't have any problems. Although this track has a wide first corner, so I'm not anticipating anything dramatic today. Let's see if Gerard will get away cleanly this time, or if he will bog up the start. And let's see how both Brabham boys do, because they haven't been anywhere this up for quite a while. So drivers are lining up now. Red. And they're off. The race started. Gerard burns the start once again. But the Brabham boys cannot take an advantage for that, because he occupied the middle of the track, and Gregor Guassin is in the lead immediately.
One car
Followed
is
by
off.
Raul
I think
Gerard.
it's Vincent. No, Vincent. No.
Well, Gerard Rion is nowhere in the front runners. Something happened with him. Oh, I'm sorry. He's in second place. He recovered. So Gerard is in second. Raul Gerard is in third, but he's under attack from Vincent. Jan Tietz jumped all the way to fourth. And Jason White is fifth at the moment. So no drops.
Was Jean-Marie Placé, the white and red car, who had an outing, but he is back on track.
Yes, he took a little excursion down the runway.
And mistook him for
or down
Vincent
the-
Beretta, who is actually running fourth right now, I think.
Yeah, he also
has started his usual fast, high-speed crusade to build a
Yes.
big gap to the cars behind. He will be having to work extra hard today, because, as we have commented, one of the stories of the day is the problems with the tire degradation and these very big long corners. So he probably wants to build a gap that allows him to later manage his tires if needed.
Seems so.
Oh, Jason White seems to be out of track.
Oh, already?
Dan Assurer has lost his front wheel, and Martin Lassina is also out. Jason apparently without any damage, but he's dropped to last, I think.
Yes, Dan Assurer was in the pits. Jason seemed to have had some kind of problem, an outing, like
Jason
you said.
is
There are
right now,
some debris.
going through the spot where two other cars, Mark Florkin and Mick Chapman, have also went out of track. They're trying to rejoin now. Martin Lassina arrived to the spot, but they seem to have gotten moving. This is a track where the runoffs are relatively big, so with some luck we won't see as many cars abandoning as past races.
Yes, we had some issues right in the beginning, but it seems that people went for the pits, and because indeed the walls are quite far away from the track, it's not that it's easy to rip wheels off these cars this time. So we will see.
Kalmikula is entering the pits for a new wing. And things seem to have stabilized a bit at the top of the race. Greg Wasson continues leading, followed by Gerard Rion, followed by Raul Gerarep, who seems to have been able to make the most of the Brabham today. Vincent Beretta is next, then Jan Titz and Philippe Martinelli, guy we always like to be watching because he is always there. And as long as he has a minimal chance, he will be steady there fighting for it.
Yes, his teammate Mick Chapman was also one of the drivers that had some problems earlier. He's trying to regain the lost time. And in the front, it seems that everybody is now pondering their chances. Like we said earlier, tire degradation can be a real problem here today. So maybe the drivers will take a bit easy in the beginning, Alberto, and see how the tires fare off into the middle of the race. What do you think? Oh, and
Well,
Vincent is overtaking Raul Jarev, and he just overtook it. Vincent Beretta overtook Raul Jarev down the front straight. Well, it surprised even me because he was a bit behind, but still he made a daring move on the brakes, and there was nothing Raul could do. And now Raul is trying to fight back, and he did it. He already overtook Vincent, but Vincent is trying to fight back once again on the inside, but there's no space there. So maybe Vincent caught Raul napping there a bit. And
yeah, he was really off guard.
Sure woke him up, and now they're completing yet another lap. So I interrupted you, but you were going to say about the tires?
Well, I'm not so sure that they will be holding back that much now at the beginning, because those guys at the front, all of them have ground effect cars, and what they will be probably more concerned about is building a gap the non-ground effect cars that will actually not be killing their tires as much. And maybe later they will be willing to dice among themselves. But certainly Greg's start seems to indicate that he's not holding back a lot, at least for now. Maybe when he sees tires going into the yellow zone, he will be.
Well, it doesn't seem, indeed, he already has a 4-second advantage. But the fight for third seems to be heating up because now Vincent Perret is joined by Jan Titz and even Philippe Martinelli. And Vincent is attacking again Raul once again on the inside, and he's through. Raul seems to have quite a big problem with understeer entering these corners. And now he will try once again to pass Vincent down the long back straight. And I guess he will. There he goes. Raul is back into third. But I guess this fight is, well, really helping up the two in front because they're just pulling away. And Vincent goes again on the inside, but there's no room there.
And Felipe Martinelli has lost it at corner entry. Fortunately, he hasn't spun completely and seems to be still there. And Vincent is certainly not holding anything.
He isn't. He overtook once again, and it's a matter of can he keep the advantage? But he seems to be faster around these corners, these long corners, than Raul. And Raul seems to be dropping back. And now he's under attack from Jan Titz. And
well,
Jan
at this
is going
point,
on
I
the
think
inside.
that the most intelligent thing for Raul to do would be to simply follow Vincent. If he's able to cruise at the biggest speed, then probably he can lead the way. This fighting, the only thing that has brought for them is actually Jan Titz being now right on Raul's tail.
Indeed, and Vincent has a 7-second deficit to the leader at the moment. But Jan Titz is going on the inside now. And he's through. So Jan Titz moves
normal
to fourth.
That Raul is having that many problems. Maybe he got
some
kind of damage from...
And now Philippe Martinelli is through also. Or maybe he's having problems with the fuel weight. The cars are now in full tanks.
Mike Pecknell is in the pits. For the reason.
And Martin Lassina is a confirmed first retirement with suspension damage. Raul was now overtook by Didier, and Jakob Frederiksen is also overtaking him. It's really
Yeah, he
strange,
certainly
Alberto.
has problems. It's not normal that he's dropping that much.
Well, maybe history won't repeat itself and we won't have a fan car winning here today. Jakob is, well, he's alongside and he's through. So Raul is now down in 8th position. He lost 4 places in the space of 2 laps. And the next one in the line is David Jack.
We will have to see what he does next. He just went by the pit entry and he go in. So whatever it is, he doesn't seem to think that it can be repaired at the pits. But his pace certainly is not going to make the race comfortable for him. Instead, he's obviously having a big understeer problem. This seems to point at some, maybe, I don't think setup problem, but maybe some kind of suspension damage.
I'm trying to see on the onboard, but it's really hard. The steering wheel seems to be straight to me. But indeed, he's having a lot of trouble entering these corners.
So it seems that Vincent Guerreta, who got rid of him, who disposed of Raul, is right now catching Gerard Rion. He obviously doesn't want Gerard to build a big gap. He wants to be there in case there is a problem for Gerard.
It seems so. I mean, Gerard probably he might be concerned with tires, but he can't relax because Greg is going away from him and Vincent is now on his tail. Greg now has an 8-second lead at this moment. So whatever Gerard does, he has to do it quickly, or he has to get the pace to at least run with these two, or else we might have a Shadow 1-2 soon.
Well, this is a very long race. It's very tolling on the tires, and I believe that the rhythm that Greg is putting on them will not make them exactly very happy. I expect him to have real tire trouble at the end of the race, and even if Greg is a real master of driving under that kind of conditions, it will be hard for him, I can tell you, because tire degradation will be big here.
Yes, Greg may try to run up into the distance like he usually does, but he might run into problems later in the race, and we know that the tires can get to a point where no matter what you do, they're gone, and if he reaches that point, he might have a big problem in his hands. Now, a quick running up of the top 10 at this moment. Greg Arguassan is leading, Gerard Rion is second, Vincent Perret is third, and getting right to the tail of Gerard. Jan Titz is fourth, Philippe Martinelli fifth, Jakob Frederiksen is sixth, Raul Gerev is now up to seventh, and David Jack
he has
is
just
eighth.
behind him David Jacks and Didier Conjot, who have been catching him, and they seem to be grouped now, thanks to Raul holding them. He has built a big of a traffic jam behind him, and there seem to be some interesting fights there. Because while they are waiting for the first one to go past Raul, they are not holding anything among themselves.
Everybody wants an advantage and they want it now.
Yeah, there's our friend Ray Riddle, one of the steadiest drivers in the grid, in this relatively uncommon position for him, because he has been normally always in the top 5 to top 10.
Petr Lavak overtaking Didier Conjot. Petr Lavak moved 9th and Didier is now 10th. Didier seems to be running that car really low. I mean, there were a lot of sparks on the fast back straight.
Yes, and these corners are, if you look at them from ground level, they are quite steeply cambered from what you're used to in road courses. So that will certainly always make the cars have, as in oval racing, a bigger load, and therefore be bottoming out much more.
Raul seems to have a moment to breathe here, as David J cannot doesn't seem to be able to catch him at the moment. So maybe whole space is getting better as the fuel is burning out of his car.
Yes, whatever the issue, you can see that some laps ago he did 135, then did a 127, 128, and he's been now steadily moving into 128, a much better time. So whatever reason seems to be curing itself, or at least Raul has been able to adapt to it.
Meanwhile, his teammate Jason White is still in this race, although he's quite a way back. He's 17th at the moment. He ran into problems.
Vincent Beretta seems to be getting closer to Gerard Rion. Now the gap is steadily shrinking between them. It's now 1 second, whereas some laps ago it was 2 seconds. And knowing Gerard, I would say that he is the only one at the top that is right now calculating. There it goes. Vincent going past Gerard.
There it goes. No big problems there. I guess Gerard just didn't want to put a fight in the race, and Vincent just went for it. And behind them, Jan Tits and Philippe Martinelli are also having a go at each other.
That's true. Like I said, probably the only one who is right now calculating. The top is Gerard. Maybe also Philippe Martinelli, also a very calculating driver. The rest are going for it, as long as I don't see the tires starting to scream for clemency.
Gerard, also producing a lot of sparks down there. Now that they're coming to lap Dan Assurer, and I believe it's Mark Florkin. Yes, he is in the Ferrari. Mark opening up for Vincent, and Gerard will follow. And Jan Tits, meanwhile, is getting really close of Gerard at this point.
Well, Francois Remen, meanwhile, seems to have had an accident with his Ferrari.
Wait. Jan Tits just went off the track. I guess he didn't expect Gerard to brake so early, and he lost the control, and he lost his front wing.
Yes. Trying to head for the pits.
So that's a mistake that cost Jan dearly. I will have to go all the way to the pits because that crash was in the first corner. So we'll be losing even more time.
We can see now Philippe Martinelli, who has been able to also overtake Dana Schurer right now, and he's trying to stick to Gerard Rion. So we have the two more calculating drivers on the top, about to be together. And it wouldn't surprise me much if we see them working together, much more than what we have seen with the previous overtaking movements from people who have touched with Gerard.
Well, indeed, it seems that thinking and keeping calm is the secret here. Jakob Frederiksen is now up to 5th, and Charles Jareb is now 6th. So Cole, by dropping back, keeping his head cool, while he was having problems, he might profit from this, because it seems that he's picking up the pace, and he kept it on the track when he needed it.
He's doing steady 128. I'm watching also right now Greg Wassen's lap times. Of course, he's absolutely steady. He has been doing for some 8 laps or so 126. He's now moved up to 127, so he seems he's starting to think about managing the tires, considering the gap he has to the second. But it's almost 14 seconds right now to Vincent Beretta.
Meanwhile, Francois remains another retirement suspension in NAM. So 2 less cars running here today.
Interesting, because as a comparison, Jason White, who is picking up through the field, is doing 127. He's in the same lap times as Greg Wassen. Only his unfortunate incident that sent him to the back has made his Race right now a struggle. Get possessions back.
Yes, I believe Jason might have had the pace to run with the leaders, but
And he's
unfortunately
going
for him,
into the pits now.
Jason White
Jason
is going into the pits.
I wonder if it's some kind of suspension damage, tires, or yes, he has had right now a new front wing replaced.
So he lost the wing while
yeah.
we weren't watching. That's the conclusion I come to.
Probably
so that
so,
won't
yes.
hold his chances.
So it's right now up to Raul mostly to try to defend Brabham's honor and try to get the top 5 at least. He's in 6th position, cruising right now. And Jakob Fredriksson. But David Jacks is catching up on him. Certainly won't be waiting much because he seems to be on a hurry.
David Jake finally getting up to pace, and following him comes Petr Lavak in the Williams. So Raul might be getting into some trouble yet again soon.
Yes, David has been doing some laps in 128, very steady, going quickly. And now his last lap was 129, which seems to indicate that he's now being helped by Raul.
Ooh.
And yes, there he goes.
Ooh,
that was quite a bit optimistic.
Really late there. Really too late, and you went off course. But Lavak now overtook him, and it's his turn to have a go at Raul, but he almost took Raul out of the race there. Raul was lucky, and now Petr Lavak is attacking Raul at this moment, but Raul shuts the door and keeps the 6th place for now.
Petr Lavak, who was our first race winner in this, seemed to have a dominating car back then. People were, some of them were really afraid of what they had seen in our first round. But he has been progressively dropping back because probably his Williams hasn't been updated as much as other cars.
It seems so. His car gradually getting less and less competitive as this season goes on. Williams would stuck with that car for quite a while before they would get the first and very quick and dominant round effects car out of the box. But it sure won't be helping Petr as the season unfolds. Now Raul seems to yet again get a little space to breathe, but it might not last long.
And Didier Conjot seems to be heading for the pits. I don't know if it's some kind of damage. He's going really slow now. Yes, his front wing is missing. This second Lotus.
Now I do wonder where these drivers are missing all these front wings.
Yes, because we're not seeing those incidents. They must happen very quickly.
Maybe one of these fast corners who happened to have the wall just too close is claiming all these victims. And one thing is for sure, it's not making any victim of our leader, who is still quite much in the lead, 15 seconds now to be exact. Meanwhile, Raul Jareb is once again under attack from Petr Lavak, and David Jacks is now closing again.
Probably not the race he was expecting at the beginning. That big fan on the rear that seemed to give them that big advantage.
Exactly. Is it possible that maybe the fan is producing just too much downforce at the rear, and the car is just, ooh, Petr not trying, and the car just struggles with the full tank?
Maybe so. You never know. We will have to interview Raul or Jason after the race to know for sure. But what you can tell from what you see
Petr
on the
is going
screen is
for
that he is not really happy with the handling.
And he's through. Petr Lavak indeed
Luckily
just
moved by
over
Peter.
took
Certainly.
Raul. So that promotes Petr Lavak to 6th and demotes Raul to 7th. Although I believe Raul might have the pace to just keep with Petr, we will see. If he doesn't, David Jakes is the man who follows.
getting close now, as if he had been waiting for his turn to attack Raul.
Well, to be fair, he had his shot, but he was a bit too optimistic, so he got
that's
bumped.
what he was probably waiting now patiently, so as not to repeat the incident of the other.
Oh, there's a yellow card there on the grass. I don't know who that
Roman
was.
Coranda was it, to have had an outing there. David Jax is already getting impatient.
Yeah, so now they're lapping Anderstorp.
Oh, Peter Lavak.
Peter just made a mistake there. And he lost 2 places with that. Raul still trying to go around Anderstorp, and now he's really under attack from David there.
Well, now we can see what happens when they come to the straight. The Ligier, that big V12, is pulling really well on the track, and this is a very dangerous situation now.
Then
still think that Raul has been able to read it correctly.
Maybe there was some contact there because David went on the inside, but Raul didn't get him. Now he overtook Dana, but David got stuck behind her, and Raul can get away.
It seemed almost a movement from classical movement from oval racing, where you use the past cars to block the rival.
Yes, Raul getting away there from David just by the skin of his teeth, but I guess he won't be getting away for long because David is really on a mission to overtake him. And Petter now, after the mistake, is right back again onto the back of David.
That car, that Brabham, really has a big understeer problem because you can, if you look at it from the front, if it was following you, you can see the big difference in angle between the body and the tires when it's going through any turn. So I really wonder what is causing that.
Well, whatever it is, it's not helping at all because David is once again trying to sneak up on the inside. And I guess now on the fast back straight, David will get his chance. And he goes for it. He's on the inside, he's alongside again. There's nothing Raul can do now. David is braking for the corner, and he's through. Raul tries to look up on the
another
inside.
overtake movement that we have missed is Philippe Martinelli, who has been able to pass Gerard Rion. Seems to be now on the hunt for Vincent Verretta.
Maybe so, but Raul is fighting back, believe it or not. And he's on the inside of David Jack, and he's through again. Ooh, maybe not. David's still resisting. And now Petr Lavak just is taking the chance to go inside Raul, but not quite.
He's being very cautious because he understands that this is a very dangerous position.
Oh, Petr trying to go. He went on the grass even, but there's just no space there. There's a big fight here between these
Raul's line
three.
to take, so Peter probably saw it coming.
It was, but should know better before sticking his nose where there is no room for it. And now it seems that David is falling away. We can't get our eyes from this battle, Alberto. And now Petr is going to try surely once again. His Williams being very fast down the straight. There he goes. And he's already overtook him. But Raul is resisting, but Petr has the inside line. And he's through.
Again, another clean movement by Peter, who seems to have the hang of that corner. You can see the traction and the epic speed of that Brabham.
There's nothing Raul can do, it seems, besides dropping back. And that's exactly what's happening. Both David and Petr just getting away from him. And dropping back, like you said, seems to be what Gerard Rion is also doing, since Philippe Martinelli was able to overtake him. While in the meantime, our leader is just going away and away and away. He now has 18 seconds of an advantage over his teammate, Vincent Verretta.
Yes, at least here in sim racing, driver quality still goes over vehicle quality. No matter how many fans you stick on your car, ground effects or anything, there is a Greg Wassan on the grid. Know what will happen if you are not up to it.
When now Raul will be soon getting under pressure from Ray Riddall in the Cooper Sucker. Ray doing yet again his trick, which is progressively going up the grid. And now Petr Lavak is also attacking David Jake. David Jakes, who is now in the last points position, he's sixth, and Petr Lavak wants that position. But it seems that reaching and overtaking David will be a bit more difficult than doing so to Raul. David is still trying to keep
Kalmikula had an accident 2 laps ago and has abandoned.
Oh, it seems so. So another confirmed retirement from this race. Up to now, only 3 cars retired. Although some already had to stop a few more times in the pits for damage repair.
Seems that Peter does want that six spot that David Jacks is holding now.
It seems so. He's trying to reach David, although David, to be fair, has been putting a rhythm that keeps Petr just a little bit. But I guess Petr has the pace to get to the back of David soon. And he's
David
doing
is
so.
doing 129s steady, almost dead on, in these last laps, while Petr Lavak has been able to do low 128s. So it's no wonder that he has been able to catch him up. Williams seems indeed to be about 0.5 to 0.8 of a second quicker right now, at this point.
It seems so. And Petr is using it to full effect to the dismay of David at this point, who will very soon be under attack. In fact, he already is. Petr is now already looking for a way by. Like we mentioned, this is the last points position. So there's something at stake here. Rol seemed to have picked up the pace a bit again. Rol is being very inconsistent with his laps, but his last one was a very fast one. He dropped Ray a bit.
One interesting thing, but what we were commenting some time ago, Jason White, who has a 2-lap deficit right now, has been overtaken by Greg Wassan. And ironically, he's right now able to follow Greg Wassan with no problem. So he had the rhythm. Just a pity that this incident cut his race short.
Yes, and he seemed to have made a good start, but I guess there was a mistake there of some sort. I think he went on the grass. We shall see later if he went alone or not, but it cost him, I believe it cost him the race there and there. After that he had to go for repairs, and then he had to go again. And unfortunately, now the only thing he can do is indeed follow Greg and take solace in the fact that he does have the rhythm. He just doesn't have a track position anymore.
Well, he had some pretty decent results in last weekend's USAC race, so it seems that luck was not everlasting.
Unfortunately so. Meanwhile, David Jakes continues to hold just a small gap to Petr Lavak, but maybe now Petr is very close now in the back straight, and I guess he will try. He's really close, but no, David breaks really late there, and there's nothing Petr can do. So he keeps the
Must break
position for
very
now.
late because that corner is one of the specialities of Peter Lavak. He has been doing some very impressive braking maneuvers on that corner.
It seems so. Ooh, but now Peter's on
Almost
the
there.
inside and he's through.
Yes, he squeezed.
Oh, but David wants to fight back. But the next
Yeah,
corner,
Peter has the
Peter's on
inside
the
of the next
inside.
corner.
So I guess that's a done deal for now. And Peter Lavak moves to sixth position. Ooh, but David wants to try once again, but I guess he has no space there. So he'll have to keep.
Again,
You'll have
another
to
very
keep
late
behind.
braking by Peter. A guy you don't really outbrake.
And David has to follow. He's very close now. But we will see what will happen on the back straight. But Petter is just gaining that little bit of space that might be crucial. His Williams seems to be working very well on those long corners. And I guess he gained enough to stay in front, and that's what he will do.
Ray Ridal and Jean-Marie Placet are actually fighting it out. And
Indeed,
Jean-Marie
Placet
Placet just
overtook.
was able to squeeze by.
So Jean-Marie is now 9th, and Ray is back to 10th, and he's followed by David's teammate Jan Kowalski in the other Tyrrell.
Yes, the car that Richard Coxon dropped some races ago, he was really unsatisfied with the behavior of the car. The car was quick, but Richard said that he had not a real good feeling with it. It was a bit unpredictable for him. So he preferred to downgrade to lower car, as is the ATS, but he seems to be much more happy with the handling. Oh,
Yes,
and Jan Kowalski.
Well, I guess he was another optimistic guy, and he went on the grass. Although he keeps his 11th place, he just lost quite a bit of time to Ray with that mistake. Of course, Richard might have downgraded, but the ATS in various hands seems to be a car which, well, it already even won a race this season. So the ATS teams seem to have been blessed in our virtual season with either a fair bit of luck or good drivers, because the team is actually getting much better results than it was in the real thing.
That's true.
Jean-Marie Placet just overtook Raul Jareb, so Raul drops yet another place. He's now 9th, and Jean-Marie is really on the move. At this rate, he will catch David Jake sooner rather than later.
Yes, it seems that the McLaren is one of the cars that is benefiting the most from getting
Cole
rid
is on
of
the
the big
grass.
full load.
Cole is on the grass. He made a mistake. He's back on track. He didn't lose any more places, but he lost quite a bit of time with that. This race not going well for the fan cars at all. And Petr Lavak, he made yet another mistake because he was overtaken by both David Jakes and Jean-Marie Placet. Yet again entering the start-finish line, he made a mistake, and now David Jake and Jean-Marie got through, and we might have yet again a battle with these three drivers now on our hands soon.
Yeah, for sure, because Peter's rhythm was higher.
So Petr now is catching Jean-Marie, who is in his turn catching David. The three of them very close now. Of course, Raul with that mistake, he dropped 10 seconds to these three. That McLaren working really well.
Yes, like we were noting before, probably one of the cars that is benefiting more from getting the fuel load burnt.
He's getting really close to David, although I can see that he's driving quite on the limit there. Meanwhile, you might not believe this, but Philip Martinelli overtook Vincent Beretta, and he's now in second. So it's not the Shadow 1-2 anymore.
So that must have been
maybe
some kind
back.
of mistake by Vincent Beretta. Uncharacteristic, but the difference between them was 2 or 3 seconds some laps ago.
Maybe tires are already playing a bit of tricks, drivers.
So Peter Lavak is again.
And we only need not to look. And David Jakes lost 2 positions to Jean-Marie Placet and Petr Lavak.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Peter Lavak is right now on the hunt for Jean-Marie Placet, and David Jakes meanwhile dropped those 2 positions.
So Jean-Marie is now 6th. He's now on that points position, who has been changing hands so much during this race. Petr Lavak is following him yet again, trying to get to that position. And David was demoted all the way to 8.
Vincent Beretta also wants his 2nd position back, because he's right now pushing a lot, trying to get back to Felipe Martinelli, and he's already quite close, because Felipe is being hindered.
Ooh, he might have a chance now.
Yeah.
Not quite. Felipe hesitated there behind Michał Janak while lapping him, and Vincent saw an opportunity. He tried to go for it. But he seems menacing. Gerard, meanwhile, is not that far back, but he seems to not have the pace at the moment to run with these 2. But this is a fight for 2nd place right here. Philippe braking and Vincent following him. Ooh, Philippe might have gone a bit wider, and Vincent is trying on the outside, but there's no room there. Philippe covering all the track. Vincent has to stay behind while they're entering the start-finish line to yet another lap. Or what was the start-finish line the next year. Because now they will enter the long straight in this track. Philippe just running away a bit from Vincent, just enough to keep his 2nd place safe for now. Ooh, but Vincent brakes really late on that corner, and he closes right up to Philippe once again. These 2 going at it, while we have 28 laps completed of the 70, so still quite a bit of way to go. Gerard is still 3 seconds away from these 2. Oh, Vincent just, his car sliding a bit. He wasn't able to put the power down. And meanwhile, Raul Gerev and Jan Kowalski are really at it. We have now Raul Gerev, Jan Kowalski, and Ray Ridal all together. Ooh, Raul made a mistake, and he just lost 2 positions to Jan Kowalski and Ray Ridal all at once. So Raul is really dropping back as this race unfolds. He's now 11th.
Yes, and well, any error is being paid dearly here because cars are going very fast. So any small time difference will be lost very quickly.
Meanwhile, Vincent is having another go at Philippe Martinelli. Vincent Beretta is on the inside and he brakes really, really late. And he's through. His car sliding and he keeps the 2nd place.
Remember me that overtaking by Nelson Piquet some years ago. He got the car completely sideways, going round the outside of, I think it was of Ayrton Senna.
Ayrton Senna, yes, at Team Garrering. So Vincent is back to second. And once again, we have a shadow 1-2 in this race. Meanwhile, our leader has been for quite a while 27 seconds in front of these two. So maybe Greg is indeed managing his tires now that he has such a big lead.
Might be managing them, but he is doing steady 127s. While the Pursuers are only seldomly entering into 27s. They're more in the 28 line, but they are also trying to overtake each other. It doesn't help a lot. Good lap times.
Yes, it's really hard to predict how the end of this race will be, because the leaders indeed seem to be going really quick at the moment. So any drop in pace might be due to maybe their tires going off, and rather than them just being cautious with them.
And Gerard Leon, always there at a small distance, never trying to mix into the fights, but never losing sight of them. Like we said, a very calculating driver, and I believe he's the one who is taking most more care in managing his tires right now from the top 5.
So it seems. So just a quick recap of the top 10. Leading, we have Grégoire Wassin. Second, it's Vincent Pereira. Third is Philippe Martinelli. Fourth is Gerard Lyon. Fifth is Jakob Fredriksson. Sixth is Jean-Marie Placé. Following it outside the points are Petr Lavak in 7th, David Jakes in 8th, Jan Kowalski in 9th, and Ray Riddell rounding up the top 10.
Ray Riddell, who doesn't seem to be able to really catch up with Jan Kowalski. Distance is always there. And it seems he must be content to run in the top 10 just for now.
Indeed. And to be fair, he's doing a very good job with the Cooper Super once again. In front of him are the two Tyrrell boys, David Jakes and Jan Kowalski, once again together on the track. Tyrrell team seems to be very balanced now. Both drivers seem to run similar performances, at least here today.
And Roman Coranda now, who is closing the field, is about to overtake Mark Florkin. Ready?
So once again, we
Seems to
have
be putting some pressure there.
Indeed, with the other ATS, he's trying to overtake Mark Florkin. And we also have Jonathan Nasserklint, that we interviewed earlier, very close to David Seiber. David Seiber with the Surtees here today.
David Seiber, who is the creator of these great cars and who is having, some bad luck. I was about to say something very different. David just spun into the wall at the straight, parking now the car because that's some damage there that can't be repaired. Oh, that's very unfortunate. I was about to say is that
lost the wheel.
He is the creator of the cars, and he has been jumping from one to another, filling in the back-end seats. He has been able to race all of his creations personally. So it was a nice thing.
So David, unfortunately, indeed, he retired in front of our eyes, and that's the newest retirement we have. Still 21 cars in this race. Of course, that promotes Jonathan and anyone who follows him another place.
So we seem to be getting better at predicting things that will happen. Richard, because we were there. Poor David had the accident.
Unfortunately so, although it's always good to bring all the action to our viewers. And indeed we did. Meanwhile, Jean-Marie seemed to have been able to get away from Petr Lavak, and he's now fully secured in his 6th place at the moment.
Yes, gaps are steadily building up. One seems to be settled on some kind of rhythm that he's more comfortable with. The field is slowly spreading.
Yes, Greg in the lead, still maintaining his 27-second lead over
Roman
Vincent.
Coranda seems to have retired right now.
Oh, indeed.
Sure about the reason.
We're not sure, but it's yet another confirmed retirement. Jason White is now trying to overtake Dan Asher.
Yes, that's a fight for position this time.
Jason trying to move up the order slowly. He tried to overtake there, but there was no space, so he had to drop back a bit.
Jason 2 laps ago again did 127, but so far he has been having problems to keep a steady rhythm. I can see in his lap times 127s, but also 128s, 29s, and even 133. So that must be a combination of some traffic he's stumbling upon. Also maybe some lack of confidence, driving error, because, well, after everything that he has gone through in this race with the car, maybe he isn't really in the perfect mindset for going for it, concentrated.
Maybe, and we can never be sure if he doesn't have also a bit of damage, because he stopped in the pits quite a few times. And it might not have been just wings. He's still behind Dan at this point, although he's looking everywhere. Then he's trying now on the outside, which is the inside for the next corner, but she brakes late enough to just keep Jason behind her.
A bit of a repeat of what happened last weekend, but on a very different scenario. It was a Trenton Raceway where it was Dan Asher with a McLaren who was able to fend off quite well Jason's attacks.
Oh, she tried maybe a bit too far there, and Jason is able to overtake on the outside. So Jason is now in 16th, and Dan is demoted to 17th, and I guess Jason will have no problems getting away from her. And indeed he does.
Well, I tell you, Jason would have liked that this is what had happened last weekend, because that would have meant a race win for him.
Indeed, but it was not meant to be. What seems meant to be here today is that Greg is yet again leading comfortably. Vincent is still 27 seconds, behind him. And Philippe Martinelli dropped a bit. He's now 3 seconds behind Vincent. Meanwhile,
Greg's been held up a
I believe
bit by his
Jean-Marie
own
Placé
uncle,
has been slowly...
because Mark Florking is uncle.
Oh. But I was going to say that I believe Jean-Marie Placé has been slowly catching up Jacob Fredriksson, so he might have a fight on our hands for 5th place soon.
Yes, Jacob is the permanent or the resident ATS driver, the seat that has not yet changed. He has been doing some very good races with this car. But Jean-Marie
He was a
Placé
winner, even at
is
Monaco.
going to have no mercy on him.
Oh, that was sudden. Still, there was no place for Jean-Marie there, but
No,
he
he
sure
should
gave
have
it a
waited.
try.
I was surprised when he pulled out, because they were already on top of the corner.
But it seems that sooner or later you will go through. Maybe just a matter of time here.
Jakob Fredriksson, who by the way is also our second local driver today.
Indeed, he's also Swedish, so he's racing also his home race here. And doing a fine job until now. He's once again in a points position with the ATS. Even if Jean-Marie overtakes him, he's still in a points position, so... Jean-Marie is looking menacing, but he still couldn't find a way through.
Well, Jean-Marie is also probably quite aware that
we have
Gerard Rion
Raoul
is
outside.
very far.
We have Raoul out of the track. Raoul is out of the track and he's spinning his wheels. I guess he's stuck. And that might be the end of his race.
Maybe that fan is sticking him too much in the
Oh,
grass.
He lost the wheel. So I guess it is the end of his race. So that's unfortunate.
Yes.
He just blew his engine, but he wasn't going anywhere without the wheel, so...
We see a lot of
That's the
black
end of
smoke,
that.
so it seems that that cooling unit isn't as effective as it was supposed to be.
It seems not in the end, so...
Meanwhile, Jean-Marie Placet is trying everything he can to overtake Jakob Fredriksson.
He seems so, but he still couldn't get away, Jakob, at this point. He does have the pace, but Fredriksson has been fending off every move and covering all the spaces.
Well, Jean-Marie was doing 127s and up until
Jakob
the point he met Jakob.
He went a bit too wide there. I think there was a bit of contact because Jean-Marie just bounced to the opportunity. Fredriksson tried to close the door, but Jean-Marie was having none of it and he went through.
Yes, Jakob was driving 1 second slower than Jean-Marie. That's the rhythm of the poor ATS. So it was bound to happen that Jean-Marie would go through. Only it was, well, a bit rougher than we would have expected.
Indeed, and we are just over half distance here. 37 laps completed of 70, so still quite a bit of way to go. Jakob Fredriksson is now in 6th and Jean-Marie Placet is up to 5th, which is a very good result considering that he was nowhere near a points position in the beginning of this race.
That's right. One of the biggest climbs of the grid in any case.
Meanwhile, behind these two, Petr Lavak is still following, and behind him, Jan Kowalski just overtook his teammate, Jakes. So Jan Kowalski is 8th, Jakes is 9th, and Ray Vidal is very close to David in 10th.
Jakob Fredriksson seems to have sped up a bit after being overtaken by Jean-Marie Placet. But interesting the fact that many of the drivers are actually conserving tires, but then when they get overtaken, they start to see red and they immediately speed up, so that they are actually capable of a bigger rhythm that they are doing. But everyone seems to be pretty scared with the tires race. They don't want, in any case, to have to go through a pit stop before the end of the race, because they are quite long here, 90 seconds, the time that historically it took these cars to change tires.
Indeed, you lose a whole lap if you try to go to the pits, so nobody wants to risk it. Although, I guess it will be very hard for some drivers to manage the tires all the way to the end. Ray Vidal just overtook David. I guess maybe David made a mistake and Ray is now comfortably in 9th and David is back to 10th.
And Didier Congeot is right now trying to attack Dana Schurer. Gerard Rion, who is a lap up on them both, has just lapped his mate, about to lap Dana Schurer, which caused the hostilities to break for a moment. But I would expect Didier to immediately start putting pressure on Dana as soon as his teammate is by.
Yes,
right now.
and to our surprise, Jason is now back, behind Dana once again. So
Yes,
Jason is actually following. He spun. Indeed, so now he's following Didier, and Didier is really attacking Dana now.
Two almost opposite cars we are seeing here together, because the Lotus had the poor Cosworth V8 that was already quite pushed to the limits with some 500 horsepower back then, but a very, very good chassis with this ground effect, while the Ligier was quite the opposite. It was a heavy car, but with a very powerful V12 engine lurking in the rear, probably with some 15 to 20 horsepower advantage over the Cosworth DFE. But not quite as good chassis and aerodynamics. Oh, and that was a bit optimistic by Didier.
Didier there almost causing a disaster, but he's through. I guess Dana had to get really out of his way there.
And the fact that Ligier seems to look as a tank probably also helped a bit putting it together. All these incidents have been allowing Jonathan Acerclin to cruise in the middle of the grid. Doesn't have anybody close, front or the rear, and that is allowing him to, what he said in the interview, that is to drive steadily in his own rhythm, and it seems to be paying off because he's right now 12th. Following Mick Chapman.
So it seems. Meanwhile, Petrolav seems to want yet again that last points position because he's getting really close to Jakob Fredriksson now.
Peter had been cruising for some laps in 128s, and yes, he is now down to 127s, and his last lap was already 126.9. Seems to indicate, as you noticed, that he wants to get on the move. Maybe he is by now confident that his tires might last. We're 15% into the race, and he has decided to put a bit of an attack on Jakob.
It seems so. Of course, he already been in that position, but mistakes costed him. Still, he seems to have the pace to keep bouncing back, and he's now getting really close to Jakob now. I guess a move will follow soon. He's already looking in the inside, but there's no space there. But he's looking for space, and I would bet that he will try, if not here, at least down the long straight. He's Williams being very fast down the straight. Although he seems to be a bit far now. Let's see if he has enough straight to get the back of Jakob. He's catching him. But there was just no space here. Jakob took a defensive inside line. Petr follows. But he's now very close. Still, it seems that Jakob's ATS works pretty well in these... Ooh, now Petr trying on the inside. Jakob just understeers, or he lets Petr through. I guess he understeered a bit, and Petr's through. So Petr's now back to
I would say that he probably was
place.
afraid that Peter was going to dive bomb. Opened a bit the trajectory just in case. But Peter is a driver that doesn't usually kind of maneuvers. He's instead a very good braker. He kept everything under control very well.
It seemed so, and see, indeed, and he's, like I said, once again in 6th position, the last points position, demotes Jakob to 7th. And now these are the last cars running who are still on the lead lap. Everybody behind Jakob is already 1 lap down regarding Gregor Wassin, our leader, who has now 30 seconds of an advantage over his teammate Vincent. So I guess we are quite comfortable to say that maybe Gregor Wassin has this one in the bag for now. I mean, with 30
Jason
seconds.
and Dana are really having a very big fight there, including poor Mark Florking, who has been caught in the middle.
Let's go watch that. Jason
and
once again.
involuntarily acted as mobile chicane for them both.
Jason once again trying to get around Dana Schurrer. Oh, he's trying there on the inside. Almost reminded me how Niki Lauda effortlessly overtook Mario Andretti in the real race, but then didn't give him any room there. Like you said, the Ligier is really fast down the straight, so she was able to keep the position for now.
It's also a really huge car. You can see that it's almost 1.5 the size of the small Brabham. The Brabham is a very compact car, while the Ligier is one where, well, they didn't cut any cost in terms of aluminium and bodywork.
Indeed, it seems very bulky, other down the straight. But Dana has the power to at least get away from Jason here. And I guess she will keep the position all the way to the end. Ooh, Jason's still trying on the inside. He broke really late and he's through. To my much surprise, but he is.
I would have never expected him to be able to pull that pass, because it was from really far back.
Indeed, it was. Still a great pass, and he's immediately pulling away.
Maybe he was able to put that big ventilator in reverse and make it act as a parachute.
Or maybe the fan working in even other ways we didn't find possible. One thing is for sure, though, he really did a great overtaking maneuver, and he's going into the distance now. Oh, meanwhile, we have a bit of drama here because Jakob Fredriksson is just retired from the race. Supposedly, he had an accident. So he's
watching the
place.
replay now, yes. Slammed the wall. He could have lost it on corner entry and braking.
I guess that wall is dangerous there. Already claimed a few victims. And Jakob is the most recent one. His race is done.
What we're seeing here is that the distance from the track to the barriers is decent. But the problem is that the grass seems to be very slippery. The cars slide all the way to the barriers and hit them quite hard.
Well, it seems to be the case here. In Jakob's race is no more. So Jakob climbing down the order. That promotes Jan Kowalski to 7th, Ray Riddell to 8th, then David Jacks to 9th, and Mick Chapman will inherit the last top 10 place.
David Jacks seems to be in the pits now. Maybe one of the drivers who had opted to do a pit stop, even if knowing the big penalty that was involved in changing tires.
Well, it was not in contention for points anymore, so it might be a gamble.
We will see. One thing is for sure, a driver on fresh tires and with already more than half the fuel load burned will probably be very quick on track.
Or at least will have a very less stressful end of the race. So now, because of his stop, Jan Tits is now in 10th after his accident earlier, trying to move up the order. Mick Chapman is 9th, so the two arrows are back to into the top 10. His teammate Philippe Martinelli is still firmly in 3rd position.
So the race seems to be pretty stabilized at the moment. Maybe I would suggest to our race director that we follow a bit Jason White's car from the close by and from the rear, because we had pending Richard to make some comments about his fan car.
Well, indeed, our car, which was very well modeled by David Savard, we can see in the back the actual fan working.
Yes, if you get close, the detail is there. Fan is working.
I mean, in reality, in real life, the Brabham team was very secretive of this fan. While in the pits, they had a dustbin covering it, which must have been one of the most odd visions anyone had of a Formula One car.
As if they were already very angry with the model and wanted to stick it there, but it didn't fit.
Indeed.
That's probably a feeling that more than one car designer did have that year when Colin Chapman took his Lotus 79 to the track, put it in the dustbin, start again. That was the case for the following year, and many teams actually managed to outsmart Colin Chapman, because on the next year, well, the Lotus didn't work so well. But we wanted to talk a bit about this car, this Brabham. There was a video in the website that was posted, of course, by Jason, that showed a bit of the story on the background for this car, how the teams reacted and how they were angered by Colin Chapman's vision. This is a very interesting solution that Brabham came up with. And, well, they of course, voluntarily, in the end, Bernie Ecclestone didn't want to run the cars, because as we hinted already in the race, only God knows what would have happened if Formula One had been allowed to go with this kind of freedom. It had become some kind of Formula Libre. Because this sticking such a thing in a car, if it was a vacuum cleaner, this was something that, as you also noticed, as you commented before, something that had happened actually in one of those almost Formula Libre series that was a Can-Am. That's what the Chaparral was equipped with, that fan. It was such a big vacuum under the car that it was virtually converted into something glued to the track.
Yes, and one of the complaints that the drivers used to show their displeasure about the fan car was the fact that it would project all matters of dirt, debris and stones and etc. to the cars following them, as it sucked the air beneath the car and threw it from the back of it. That might have gave rise to some dangerous situations if indeed bigger stones or rain could have affected this car. Of course, we never saw this kind of car running in the rain, but I can only imagine it would project all the car from the road, all the water, from the road through the back of it. Maybe it would actually dry up a whole circuit much faster than anything else.
Yeah, probably so. Meanwhile, poor Mark Florking seems to have retired. Suffered an accident in his Ferrari.
So both Ferraris are now out of the race, while we have at this point 17 drivers still running.
Oh, and Jason is catching Didier Conjot. So we might be in the end able to see what we're looking forward. That's a Brabham pulling the same overtaking virtual racing as they did to the Lotus in real life.
Didier is catching Didier. They are both languishing quite in the back. Jason is 15th, Didier is 14th, but they are fighting for position. So I guess Jason would want that position badly, even for historic sake. Although he's not driving the correct car, and I think Didier isn't either. But
no, they are both driving the number
either
two.
way,
Number 2 team.
yes, they're both the teammates. In this case, Didier is driving Ronnie Peterson's car, while Jason is driving John Watson's car. Pardon me. But still, Jason is getting really close to Didier, and he might look for a way to pass soon.
Well, this was his best chance this season to be able to hang the head of the Lotus driver on his trophy wall.
Indeed. Oh, he's looking on the inside. There's no space there. I do wonder
Probably more to scare Didier than anything. He had no chance
Indeed.
there.
I do wonder if we could pull, since nobody has complained about our fan car yet in our virtual world, maybe Jason in the Brabham team will try to convince us or be keen to keep running the fan car for the rest of the season. Although I wonder if how anyone else would react if they indeed would voice such intentions here.
Well, if we are allowing Greg Wasson to run in the same league as everybody else in this grid, I guess we could always, in the same vein, give Jason the fan.
Yes. As he's now trying on the inside, and he's through. Once again, braking really late for this corner. Jason, but the car skid a bit, and Didier is retaking the position. And Didier passed him once again. But Jason is going again on the inside. I guess the fan is really producing results now, because this overtaking was a carbon copy of the real thing done by Niki Lauda to Mario Andretti.
Yes, the fan car, most of all, had incredible traction coming from the low corners. Oh.
Jason took it too far and he lost the wheel, and I guess that's the end of his race. Unfortunately, no recovering from that, and that's a real shame.
At least
You
he
were
died
going
with
to say-
honor, fighting it till the last moment.
With a Lotus, to say the least.
Yes.
Indeed, the big advantage of the fan car over even the Lotus 79 was because it had an active device sucking the air from the car. It had the maximum downforce at all speeds, so his advantage was even greater at slow speed corners, because basically it had the downforce of a high speed corner, but in any speed it fancied. Even from the start, even stopped, the car would be generating a lot of downforce.
Yes, although there was some complaining by Niki Lauda, something of course that would have been polished later with the design, but Niki said that because the fan was actually connected with the engine itself, the fan had more or less RPM depending on the engine. That means that it was also a bit irregular on the corners, because at the hairpins, the engine also dropped the revs a lot. And then as it came out, of course, it picked up revs, and the fan had more grip. So it was a bit counterintuitive or not exactly predictable for the driver.
I can imagine so. Of course, in this track, at least, it was the advantage that because this track is mainly composed by long sweeping corners, he could actually maintain the same RPM through all the corner, and the level of downforce would be more or less stable. So it was maybe a perfect storm that made the car had its debut here, with the dominance that we all know.
So we're
Meanwhile-
watching right now Peter Lavak and Jean-Marie Placet. And Jean-Marie had been doing some very quick laps, even in 1:26, but that seems to have taken its toll on the tires, and Peter has been able to catch up if doing steady 1:27.
It seems so. Maybe now we will start seeing indeed big problems with tires, most drivers. We have now 53 laps completed of 70, so 17 laps to go at this point. I would guess our leaders are probably already suffering quite a bit from tire degradation, although that doesn't seem to affect Greg because he's actually extending his lead.
Yes, we already mentioned that Greg knows very well how to work with worn tires. Right now, catching and going to put a lap on Jonathan Athercliffe, whose strategy has brought him already to the top 10. Quite good with this car.
Indeed, Jonathan, keeping out of trouble and keeping his tires alive, is now in a top 10 position.
Nice man over there.
The top. He's followed by David Jakes, who, as we know, we mentioned earlier, stopped. So he probably now is not suffering from a big tire degradation. In fact, he's doing incredibly quick lap times. He's now running in 1:25s, benefiting from the fact that he has a very light car and fresh tires. So Jonathan's place might be under attack at some point. Although, to be fair, David is
he's
quite...
doing 3 seconds slower.
Indeed. Although David is quite far back, so he will need to keep pushing in order to catch Jonathan. Of course, this for the championship positions is very good for Greg, because he will be able to extend his lead. Gerard not being able to press an advantage or even do as well here as he did in some other circuits. He's now in 4th, and he seems he will stay there. So he won't get a podium, and that means less points for him.
Well, Greg certainly has been able to make the most of the Shadow DN9. But he seems to be in a position to stop him.
It seems not, at least for now. Of course, he and the Lotus boys are already running their late season cars, so no upgrades there for any of them. So this is looking very good for Greg for the championship.
So we have meanwhile some reactions on the forum. Jacob Fredriksson said, "There's no point settling for 7th. When I lost 6th, I saw red and did all I could do to keep up with Peter, Jean-Marie. My tires were also red, which put me in the wall."
So tires indeed being a big factor here already, as we predicted.
Still 15 laps to run, and the drivers have already their tires on the red. Must be pretty uncomfortable to be driving these cars like that.
I don't envy them. That's all I have to say, Alberto. I don't envy the drivers trying to control these cars with such low grip on the tires. So indeed, maybe we have more drivers here with tires in the red, like Jacob put it. We know that Greg is still doing 1:27s, so it's not very bad for him at the moment. Although that must be maybe as fast as he can go with the tires pretty worn out.
Mike Becknell just had a moment there with Felipe Martinelli. Mike has stopped several times, so very fresh tires right now. And he was trying to unlap himself on Felipe, and he almost collected him on braking.
Well, that's not something you will want to see. So good that Mike indeed didn't do that. He's not the only one trying to unlap himself from people. Jan Dietz seemed to have gone by Petr Lavak a few moments ago. He's also very down the order, but with fresh tires. But not such things affecting our top 6 at the moment, who are still very
So
static.
Peter Lavak has been able to overtake Jean-Marie Placet, probably some kind of driving error. Jean-Marie is catching
indeed.
up with him again.
And it might have just have happened, but Lavak is now up to 5th, and Jean-Marie is demoted to 6th.
Yes,
Tires
Jean-Marie's last
catching up
lap
with
has
Jean-Marie
been
there.
almost 9 seconds slower than the previous one, so that's been some kind of incident.
Well, it won't help him indeed. Maybe the tires, like I said, catching him up. Suddenly, his car seems to be very hard to drive out of corners at the moment. I wonder if he will even be able to catch Petr again. Maybe he ran out of rubber there, and he might as well just settle down and manage his distance to Jan Kowalski and try to finish on the point.
Well, Jean-Marie certainly has been pushing a lot in the first part of the race, but he has been climbing incredibly with that car, we already noted. And at some point, that was going to pose a problem because the tires would certainly not be happy with that. Right now, braking
Yes.
himself. They're in the corner.
Ooh, the car's sliding all over the place.
And I must say, quite a
is...
worthy drive from that historic car, because it was, unless I'm mistaken, no other James Hunt's ride.
Indeed. He seems to be pulling a Hunt here, going with the rear sideways anywhere he can. But I don't think it's his intention. He's just trying to get around the obvious tire wear that he's suffering from.
Yeah, that reminds me something very funny. I think I told it about Kevin Schwantz when he was driving the Suzuki. Got interviewed by a Spanish journalist. Asked something like, "Hey, Kevin, with the bike is incredible. You go sliding there, then you come out of the corner, the bike does a wheelie, you just move on the bike, control everything. How is it that you do that?" Kevin Schwantz looks at the guy and says, "Dude, the bike does that. I just try to hold there for my dear life." It was completely unintentional. He was just trying his best.
He's
that
trying
must
his
be
best
probably
not
the case
to do
also
that.
for Jean-Marie Placet. He's not trying to give some spectacle to the viewers. He's just hanging there for his dear life.
Yes, Jean-Marie, well, he's dropping back. Actually, not dropping back. He's holding the distance to Petr. But I doubt that he might get to the position back. It's now 11 laps to go. And he doesn't seem to have the tires, as we mentioned, to go after Petr at this moment. Meanwhile, Didier Conjud just overtook Michał Janak for 13th position. Michał racing the Surtees here. In his case, the white and orange version of the car. And Didier just using that Lotus 79 to power around Michał to climb up to 13th. He's raced Merida with problems, and that's why he's so down the order at the moment. His teammate Gerard is still in 4th place, following Philippe Martinelli. Although he doesn't seem to be able to make an impression on him. His 3 seconds of gap between him and Felipe remaining constant already for a long time. So a quick rundown of the top 10 at the moment. Gregor Guassin is leading. Vincent Beretta is 2nd. Philippe Martinelli is 3rd. Gerard Rion is 4th. Petr Lavak is 5th. Jean-Marie Placé is 6th. And outside the points, we have Jan Kowalski, Ray Ridal, Mick Chapman, and Jonathan Usseklint. Other runners are David Jakes, Jan Titz, Didier Conjou, Michał Janak, Dan Assurer, and Mike Becknell. 16 cars still running as we approach the end of this race. Although it seems that Gerard might be closing up to Felipe in the closing stages. I now notice that their gap is down to 2.5 seconds.
Yes,
We'll
Felipe has
see
one
if-
of the 3 hot spots that every driver wants to fight for. Those are, of course, the top one, the win, the podium, the last step on the podium that is from Felipe right now, and the last one for the points, who is now in the hands of Jean-Marie Placé.
Indeed, and if Gerard can climb up to third, it's quite a bit more points that he gets. So it will be important for him, so he can still keep a championship hope alive here. Although he's running out of laps to do it. 9 laps now remaining.
They're both doing comparable lap times. So Gerard wants to overtake Philippe Martinelli. It will certainly not be any.
Indeed. Gerard is now... Jan Titz is getting... Ooh, Gerard just made a mistake. Gerard Rion just made a mistake. He's on the grass. He didn't touch anything, so he can rejoin the track. But I guess that's the end of that. If he had any hopes of catching Felipe, they ended right there and then. Maybe tires
I
already
think this
very,
is not
very
the
worn
first time
out.
that Gerard loses it on the braking. Either the cars, this type of cars, doesn't suit his braking style, or it's a treat from the Lotus. But I think it already happened somewhere in Monaco, I happen to believe. He had to stay on the track almost crossed their 90 degrees cars because, again, he hit the rear on the braking.
Seems so. It seems he has quite a bit of trouble with that sometimes. Maybe a downshift that doesn't go as planned. Spins the rear around. Still, he rejoined. He's still in 4th place, although he has just over 5 seconds of a gap to Petr Lavak, who is racing and running behind him. We shall see if
Peter
he can keep that
Lavak, who
distance.
certainly has been managing his tires because his last 4 laps have been an incredible 126. So he has been saving all the race for this.
Well, that might not be good news for Gerard. Let's see if he can hold on, although his advantage might be enough with 8 laps to
So
go.
far, as our race director quite rightly points out, it seems to be a complete, overwhelming French victory here because the full podium is made up of French drivers.
Indeed, we have Greg first, Vincent second, and Philippe third. The 3 of them French, and the 3 of them in all podium positions. So that might be a total whitewash for the French nation here today.
And for the Shadow team, 1-2.
Yes, and in 4th place we have Gerard, who is French-speaking Belgium, as far as I know. So the French language, at least, being well represented here today in Sweden.
We have also some more reactions on the forum from Raul Gerard, who says that it will happen in a moment of distraction. That meant weeks were gone in mud. And I was winning half of the race and 50% of the tires ready to launch. So it seems he was somehow holding back a lot because he wanted to the most of the fan car towards the end of the race.
Well, I guess it didn't pay out to him. You have to keep it on the track if you want to fulfill some plan you have to the end of the race.
Well, next one to post was poor Jason, who also didn't have much luck. Reckoned he had some mistakes, that his room was doomed. But meanwhile, he has already changed his avatar to the Parnelli, so he seems to be at least in the mood and in shape for the next race, which will be the Indy 500 that will be happening here in May.
Yes, it's still a month to go for the qualifying for that race, actually. But I guess Jason wants to put the Swedish Grand Prix behind him as soon and as clearly as he can. Fortunately, things didn't go as planned, and I guess nobody would go with the request of running the fan car a few more races. So it will be business back as usual for him the next race.
Six lap to go. Greg Wasson, who is incredibly going down to 125s at some points. I think he's probably doing that so as not to pressure, going too slow. And he certainly has been able to do some very good tire saving. Because otherwise,
yes,
there's no way he would be able to do that.
It seems so, because his advantage has been increasing here in the later stages of the race, which tells me that in the middle of the race, he's probably he was cruising to save some tires and keeping his advantage, and now he can just run as he pleases. So actually, he ended up being the one who managed better the whole race, and it seems that a win here is becoming a certainty at this point.
But it seems we will have to coax Guillaume Sibert out of retirement if we want to make Greg's life a bit difficult.
Either that, or allowing the fan car to run a few races more. I wouldn't say that the Shadow is a slow car by any stretch of the imagination. It's a 1-2 for them for now. So whatever the Shadow team is doing, it seems to be paying off.
So Peter Lavak is indeed catching Gerard Rion right now very quickly. Seems that mistake by Gerard has made him lose
Petr's
concentration, and Peter
and
Lavak has gone by as a rocket.
Petr just went through. I guess Gerard made a little mistake there. Petr's now in fourth. And
Well,
Gerard
Jean-Marie is not that
fifth.
far away. So Gerard better gets his act back together.
This is not what Gerard wanted to happen at the end of this race, losing places. And in fact, our leader Gregoire Wasson just lapped Jean-Marie Placé, so he's now lapping the points positions drivers. Gerard lost the position to Petr and doesn't seem to be able to keep up with him because he's actually losing time. So I guess Gerard's tires are destroyed at this point.
Well, it's only a good thing that the tires actually don't last the whole race. In this case, if you're pushing continuously, because otherwise we would see Greg Wasson lapping himself at some point.
Indeed, Gerard will have to maintain the distance. Jean-Marie Placé just stopped in the pits. Now, this is another dramatic event right at the end of this race. He's sixth.
Oh my God.
He's now in the
Probably
pits.
ran out of tires completely.
Either that or ran out of fuel.
It was a very quick stop. Probably a miscalculation with fuel.
Maybe so. Maybe he just didn't have enough fuel. He's being overtaken now by Jan Kowalski.
He's out of the points. Whoa. A dramatic thing. 5 laps from the end.
Yes, Jan just went by him, so he's now out of the points. We will see if he can still catch Jan, but I don't think so. with 3 laps to go. So very unfortunate for him, but I guess it was indeed he didn't have enough fuel to finish the race.
That must be really maddening to realize that at this point of the race. And I think this is also one of the things that has happened to Mario Andretti in real life. Because Colin Chapman was always trying to be so absolutely precise, make the most of the minimal weight. Poor Mario also ran out of fuel in more than one race, even leading.
Indeed, always worried about the weight of the car. Colin Chapman overdid it a few times.
Speaking of a Chapman, Nick Chapman just overtook Ray Riddle on the straight with the arrows. Seems that towards the end of the race, everybody is taking out the knives, trying to throw whatever is left of the tires in this dust dish.
Yes, Mick Chapman, he had to stop, I believe, in the beginning of the race for some damage. So he might have just a little bit fresher tires. And he's being quite able to take full advantage of that. He demoted Ray to 9, so Mick is now 8. Still, I don't think he will be able to move more up the order here because Jean-Marie is well away ahead of him on track.
And Greg Wasson is about to lap Gerard Rion.
Indeed, Gerard lost quite a bit of pace here, and he just let Greg's go. So instead of the Brabham domination, we had the Shadow domination here today.
We have the Greg Wasson domination.
Well, even if he wasn't here, Vincent would still be quite able to win this race. He has a 10-second advantage in relation to Felipe Martinelli at this point. His second place seems secure in what will be a 1-2 finish for the Shadow team.
Jan-Marie also seems to hit Jan Kowalski, but there will certainly not be enough laps for him. Must be really angry with himself right now, because it was, we said, one of the 3 spots that the drivers are more ready to fight for. It's the last of the point spots.
Indeed, he lost the points position there with that mistake, and it was such a short stop, but still Jan was close enough to eke his way in front of Jean-Marie. And it seems that he will give the final point to the Tyrrell team.
Greg Wasson is right now on his final lap.
So
Will
very
be
relaxed
enjoying
final lap.
another deserved win. Oh, Mick Chapman, he's just going back. Mick Chapman, who seems to have been out of track. Yes, that's
Mick Chapman is out of
enabled
the
Ray
track.
Riddle to get back the 8th position.
Yes, and Mick goes back to 9th. Dramatic stuff here at the end.
Jan-Marie also catching Jan Kowalski quite fast. Can switch there once Greg crosses the finish line.
Well, he will run out of laps at this rate. Greg is nearing the end of his final lap.
One corner more for him. And he's there, waving the car in victory.
There he goes, another win from Greg Wasson. He wins the Swedish Grand Prix. And he was never opposed right from the beginning. He took off from pole position and away he went, all the way to victory. Vincent Beretta will finish second, while Felipe Martinelli in the arrows is going to be third. Petr Lavak, after all that fight, gets a well-deserved 4th position.
Oh, and Jan-Marie had really Jan Kowalski on side. He ran too short by just a couple hundred meters because he was catching him up quite fast.
So Jan Kowalski was able to get the final points position in the Tyrrell, followed by Jean-Marie Placé, Ray Riddle, Mick Chapman, and David Jakes to finish up the top 10. 16 finishes here today in the Swedish Grand Prix. And well, another dominant win for Greg. The question is, can anyone stop him?
We will see.
We will see. So from me, it's goodbye for now. Thank you very much for joining me again, Alberto. We hope to talk to you again soon. And thank you to our director, Ben, for another outstanding job directing this race. We hope you all watched and enjoyed at home. See you all later. Bye-bye.
See you all, guys. Bye.